Thank you everyone for waking up so early and being here. I'm honored to kick this conversation off. But yeah, my name is Chen, and I'm the CEO of a company called Manolin. And before I jump into the topic of the presentation, I thought I may give a little bit of background about myself. The conversations I've had, everybody asks, why am I in Denver? There's not many sea lice there. I come from one of the more sea lice-free zones, I think, across the world. So my background, I'm a computer scientist from MIT, and I ended up working in the government after school, working on human health, so helping to build big data systems to predict epidemics, understand human systems. But I found a love for fish, and it came through oysters. I was working on side projects, helping oyster farmers collect data, run inventory systems, and through that process, really found a love for animal health and the problems within aquaculture. So 4 years ago, I wrangled a roommate of mine. We quit our jobs. We left quit our jobs, moved out of DC, went to Bergen, and have focused on salmon health ever since. What we identified was when you look at Norway and you look across all of aquaculture, the amount of data, the amount of problems that was available, we thought that our solutions and what we had from experience in big data could really apply towards the industry. So this presentation and what I'm going to talk about is about our focus on helping farmers raise healthier fish. In order to do that, our presentation is titled Solving Sea Lice with Data Management and Predictive Analytics. And the three areas that I will talk about is first talking about how farmers make decisions about sea lice. Every single week, there's treatment decisions behind which cages to treat, which sites need it. And I want to walk you through what we've seen as far as how those decisions are made. Next, I'll talk about how we add to that equation with our data and analytics. And lastly, we'll share some of the results with farmers that we have been working with over the last few years and the tangible outcomes that we have seen. So to start, this is the problem set as I identified it, talking with farmers and working in the industry for a few years. Every single week, farmers come together, a team comes together to make decisions on which sites need to be treated, which cages need to be treated. And it really boils down to three main components. One, where is lice going to be next and how is it climbing? Number two, can the fish handle a treatment? And number three, do the logistics make sense? Can we get the right people in the right place to make this happen? And the two pieces of additional information on top of that that are really important are neighboring farms, what is happening in the area that you're planning to do a treatment or your farms operate, and then what treatment method to actually choose. And to give you the picture of how we see these decisions being made, typically every single week a group comes together from across the company, whether that's fish health specialists, production managers, logistic coordinators, and site managers, and they put up a big spreadsheet full of numbers. These numbers are typically sea lice values at every single cage, and that's the talking point for how this discussion happens. So every single week this is a decision that needs to be made, and we got to solve that puzzle that I just presented. How we help at Manolin is we try to provide additional data and insights into a few of these components. The blue areas are the areas that we focus on, and for the rest of the presentation, I will talk about each specific area and through the case study that we have published. So the work that we've been doing, the case study, one of our farmers is a small producer named Lingalax in the west coast of Norway, close to Bergen. And they've been utilizing our platform for a few years now, but we were really able to monitor and measure results coming out of this last year. A few of the results that we were able to achieve, for one, they were able to see the lowest lice benchmarks that they've had historically over the last couple of years. Compared to the operating region and the PO zones, they performed much better than what competitors have seen and what you see around the entire area. More importantly, however, is that they've been able to reduce mortality during this. So they've been treating just as aggressively, fighting sea lice with the same fever and fervor that they've had for the last few years, but they're doing it without losing as many fish. We've seen 41% improvement over the calendar year, and then the important part for us is how does our platform apply to that? And what we've seen is our system has been used on roughly 70% of the days over the last calendar year, and that's really important feedback for me because for our platform, we don't register any data. You don't come to our system to put in data. You only come to our platform to get answers out. So 70% of the time, people are coming to our system to find these answers to add in these decisions. And for the rest of the conversation, I will talk through kind of specifically the areas of the sea lice decision process and how we help with each one. But to put it simply, kind of at the high level, our goals as a company are really twofold. One, provide more data across the team. This is something that is critical as far as making better decisions. Make data more accessible and then add insights on top of it. The way that we do that and how our system works is we've built integrations with all the production systems across a farm, whether that's environmental, oceanographic, lab data, production data, feeding data. We bring it all into one place. So instead of looking at 5 different systems, you can come to one and see everything that you need when it comes to making a fish health decision. So when it comes to making lice decisions, we're automatically bringing in a large portion of the data that previously never made it into that meeting. You're seeing a lot more conversations over trends and less over specific numbers. And what we're able to do is give this sea lice toolbox in a digital format. So farmers have a toolbox of tools that they have, of different treatments, of different solutions. But what we're giving them is a digital data toolbox to be able to make smarter decisions. And those 4 categories, like I mentioned above, are the ones that I will be walking through. The first one is sea lice patterns. So what we do in order to help identify better sea lice patterns is build a sea lice model. And for me, what is different in my experience as far as developing epidemiology models is that we put a lot of focus on the adversarial components. So in human health, we almost spent just as much time trying to predict events and issues that would decrease diseases as well as the ones that would spread it. And in the world of sea lice and salmon, that's the treatments. We spend almost as much time trying to understand where treatments are going to happen, when they're going to happen, because that's part of the system that removes the parasites out of the equation. So that's an area that we focus on, but we provide a model at a site level that farmers can see how things are developing in their area. So check. First one is sea lice patterns. Number 2, after you've identified which sites need the treatment, it's about fish health. Can the fish handle this treatment? I can't tell you how many times I've heard farmers tell me, we've done the exact same thing 3, 4, 5 times. We try it on the next one, and something goes wrong. We lose a ton of fish. It is not as successful. So from a farmer's perspective, this may be even more important than understanding where lice is going to spread, but whether the animals can actually handle a particular treatment. And the 2 things that we do here to help with that decision is, 1, we have models behind risk forecasting. So we've developed similar models as the lice model for PD, ISA, other health issues, and we provide forecasts for that. And the second piece is really making that data available. Instead of having to go through many different systems, in one place you can make a fish health decision by looking at environmental data, the impacts on mortality, historically what has happened at this site, and any other information that you need. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is nearby activities. And again, this is a very important piece to understand what's going on. In your area, you're not operating with just your business. You have other folks making decisions who may impact you. Being able to get as much of that information as far as how that impacts a sea lice decision is extremely important. And what you hear is you can go and find all this information. There's great sources of this data out there. We have fish health meetings and area meetings where fish health biologists come together and talk about what the plan is and what the strategy is. But even then, we think we can help by pushing that information directly to the personnel on the farm and the people making the decision. So what we do is we send automated notifications. Within our private network, we share disease data. Whenever an outbreak we've detected, we can send to a nearby neighbor, and then you can access a lot more public information all in the same place. And then the last one is on treatment effectiveness. So now we've figured out which site needs to be treated. We understand whether the fish can handle the treatment. Now we have some options as to what to actually treat. So this last part is really understanding what is the outcome, what is the expected values from performing a treatment right now. So for us, what we've done is we've looked over 15,000 treatments over the last couple decades and structured all of this data. That's one of the bigger issues with working within different companies, looking at different systems. What you see is data is not cleaned. So it's very hard to make comparisons between what the impact is, what the effectiveness is. So that's something that we've done over these 15,000 treatments in order to provide a recommendation or forecast as to what the expected outcome may be. So that's the last piece, is understanding the treatment effectiveness of the treatment you are about to pursue. And for us, when you look at the results, we know that software and data is only a very small piece of what happens on a farm. But with Lingolox and what we've been able to show is when you look at this information, you do and you can make smarter decisions. It makes informed purchasing decisions moving forward. When you're looking at preventative strategies and choosing new equipment for your farms, all of this information gets fed by the data that your team sees across the organization. One of the silly quotes that I have, but I think makes a lot of sense, is that change doesn't happen unless we change something. And my opinion is that while data isn't the final decision maker, it can be a great catalyst for making new decisions and changing the way that we operate. Again, I'm Tony. Thank you guys for your time, and excited to meet everyone.